Hello, Calvary parents. Thank you so much to all of you that joined us on the webinar the other week for guiding your child's sexual development. I really hope that it was very valuable to you and your family. You may have jumped on and watched the recording already. If not, I highly recommend that you do. This video today is a little bit of a follow-on from that. So I mentioned in that webinar 10 tips for becoming your child's go-to person. Now, what I mean by that is that you want to be the person in your child's life that they know that they can come to for honest, truthful answers to do with all of their questions about sex, all of their questions to do with their bodies and relationships. How do you become that person in your child's life? We're going to get straight into it today. If you don't know who I am already, my name's Emma Tabacaru and I am the founder of Pip and Girl. It's basically a platform and publication for tween and teen girls. We do a lot of resources, books, presentations in schools. And so without further ado, I'm going to take you through 10 tips on how you can become your child's go-to person for their sexual education. Okay, so tip number 1, keep the end in mind. Their journey through their sexual development is just that, it's a journey. And so even at the very beginning of this journey, we need to be keeping the end in mind. What kind of adults do you want to produce at the end of this? What do you want your children to hopefully walk into their marriage with or walk into their future relationship with? What skills, what understanding, what beliefs, what standards, what boundaries, what healthy routines and practices do you want your child to have in the future? And so all of these things we need to be thinking about throughout the journey of our child's sexual development. So keep the end in mind, okay? What values do you have as a family that you want to instill in your children? What kind of adult do you want to produce? Number 2, I love this little saying, truth that you can build on, okay? So I want you to remember this saying whenever these tough conversations come up, whenever you get blindsided with a question while you're making dinner, okay, or in the car, I want you to remember truth that you can build on. So often for us as parents, it's really easy to give our children misinformation because it's more comfortable for us, or to lead them falsely down another path because again it's uncomfortable for us to be honest and truthful in these moments. Sometimes it's just too much, okay? It's the wrong time. They've thrown you for 6, asked you this question out of the blue, and we just rattle something off the top of our heads, okay, that isn't necessarily true. So say for example your child comes to you out of nowhere and is like, Mummy or Daddy, how are babies made? Okay, I want you to remember truth that you can build on, all right? We want our children to know that when we come to us or when they ask us a question, we are telling the truth, okay? That we are going to give them a truthful answer that they can depend on, and that if they were to hear anything else, that it would actually match up with what we're saying as well, okay? That we want to establish ourselves as much as we can as being the expert on these things. Now, so truth that you can build on, but again with discrepancy, okay? You need to, obviously if your child's really young, you want to avoid any graphic details or too much information, but it needs to be truth that you can build on. So in answer to that question, how are babies made? Depending on the age of your children, you might say that it's when mummy and daddy's private parts come together, or you might say it's when the penis enters the vagina, or it's when daddy's got seeds in his testicles, and it's when those testicles come into mummy's body and meet the egg. It needs to be truth that you can build on. It doesn't have to be everything in that one answer because all of your conversations should be ongoing and building on top of one another and layered, okay? Layered conversations, but if it's truth that you can build on, you can continue to add to that as your child develops and matures and ask these questions. All right, number 3, mind your reactions and responses. I want you to imagine for a moment that you walk into the bath and you find your child touching themselves, or your 2 children playing with each other, okay? Or you are borrowing your son's laptop for a moment and you happen to come across his search history and it's not great. Or you see your daughter's phone and you find out that she has been taking nudes. How are you going to respond in these instances? I want to give you 3 C's: care, compassion, and calm. Our children need to know that there is nothing that they can do that will disgust us or shock us as parents. They need to know that our love is not conditional. It's not based on whether they're doing the right thing or whether they're not, that we are there to guide them through their mistakes, through their doubts, through their questions, through their exploring, that we are there to guide them and that we're there for them and that we love them no matter what, even in the mess of sometimes what it is as they're going through their sexual development. Mind your responses, okay? Really, really big one. We don't want to be responding and in shock, and we don't want to be placing shame on our children for the things that they're going through, okay? Curiosity is normal. It's normal for them to wonder about their bodies, to explore their bodies, to want to find out information, but we need to be guiding them to do it in the most healthy way possible, okay? So care, compassion, and calm. All right, number 4. Put your awkwardness aside, okay? We need to put our own discomfort and awkwardness aside from these topics, so for the sake of our children's health and well-being, okay? But it's just too important, all right? It's too important then for us to avoid these topics because we feel uncomfortable, okay? We need to get over ourselves, we need to get past that, and we need to find a way to have these hard discussions, okay? The chats don't need to be amazing, but they need to happen. And the more conversations you have, the easier it's going to get. Now, starting with a book can be a great place. If you're not sure, get a book and start there together. Start with facts, all right? If your child is approaching the puberty age, puberty is like the gateway to being able to have these conversations, okay? Teaching them facts about their body, teaching them the facts about how they're going to be changed, how their body's going to be changing, and how they can look after their body. It's a really easy time to start having these conversations. You can start with just talking about deodorant, start with talking about bad BO, start with talking about pimples, okay? Start with talking about some of these little things that are a little bit less vulnerable and less uncomfortable for us to talk about, and go from there, all right? Don't wait for to have perfect conversations, just start. And you'll find that as you start, your conversations are going to get better over time. And don't worry if one conversation flops on its head and you don't have a good one. There's always time, okay? Gone are the days of just one big chat. We need to be having lots of little conversations, but more on that in a moment. All right, number 5, commit to learning and education. The very fact that you are watching this video means that you are committed to learning and education. I don't believe that we can just fluke raising healthy children in their area of sexual development these days. Ignorance is certainly not bliss, okay? Being naive about the culture that your child's living in, what they're exposed to, all of that is not going to be helpful for your child, okay? So be empowered yourself. So knowledge is power. That's how we get power in this area, is knowledge. And so read books, follow some of the leading experts in this area, listen to podcasts, take courses, sign up to webinars, watch videos like you are today. There is so much help and guidance in this area. It's all out there for you. There's so much information for parents these days to help you guide your children through and navigate this really hypersexualized, pornified culture that they are living in. It doesn't have to be scary. We just need to be empowering ourselves to be able to educate our children well, and so that they can navigate this world well. All right, number 6, be intentional. All right, sometimes these conversations are just going to fall in your lap. All right, you will be driving home from somewhere, or something will come on the radio, or something will happen in the news, or big celebrity news, or something will happen at school, and it will just open wide a door for you to have a wonderful conversation to your child about some particular topic. But a lot of times that doesn't happen. And so as parents, we need to be intentional, okay? When our children are really young, it's a lot easier to be guided by them in terms of their sexual development, because they're open to asking questions. But as soon as your child is getting close to 7 or 8, you're going to notice that a lot of those, that curiosity seems to go underground. And it's actually not going underground, it's still there, but they're just starting to get the idea that some things are inappropriate, some things are wrong, some things are uncomfortable to talk about. And so they start to hide their curiosity. This is when, as parents, we need to be intentional about the conversations that we're having with our children. We need to be anticipating what it is that they're going to need in the future. So as they're getting to, towards 7 or 8, you might think, oh, my child's not going through puberty yet. But yes, but you're starting to anticipate what they're going to need. So by 8 or 9, most children boys and girls are starting to begin the changes associated with puberty. So you want to be having those conversations before that. You don't want their bodies to be a mystery to them. When your child's 13, 14 and you notice that they are starting, their interest in relationships and dating and crushes and all of that is starting to peak, you want to be having conversations, 1 to 2 years before that about dating and about how to treat girls or how to treat boys and about setting boundaries and what a healthy relationship looks like. You don't want to be waiting until in the moment, okay? Because we want to be setting our children up to make good decisions when they find themselves in these situations. decisions. And so if they don't have the information prior to that, they can't possibly make good decisions. I always liken this to going to a restaurant. I don't know if any of you do this, but